Good evening, everybody. It has been a while since I've done a video about reloading. I had talked about getting started on reloading 38 Special, and I'd put a post up about, some of the reloads I'd done. I finally got a chance to get out to the range and actually shoot some of these. So, when people say when you're reloading, make sure you don't have any distractions, make sure you're really paying attention to what you're doing. Don't be watching TV or listening to loud music or talking to people. It is really a good idea, and I'll tell you why. Reloading does take a lot of attention. There was a couple instances where I started loading some of these wad cutters and I didn't have my powder measure bottle turned on, so it was actually dropping powder. So the first 2 or 3 rounds I loaded up actually had powder, and the next 7 or 8 did not have any powder in them. And I didn't realize it until after I had loaded about 10 rounds. I make sure every 10 or 15 rounds to check the grain coming out of the powder measure to make sure that I'm still getting the same drop, so I don't have some that are hot and light. And when I was checking it, there was no powder coming out, and I realized I had just twisted the bottle to the off position on the powder drop. So you really need to pay attention to what you're doing. But I have gotten some good results. I did some 125 grain plated Berry's bullets, 4.2 grains of number 2 powder. And please do not use these as references for your reloading. I got these out of a book. I'm only doing it based on what the book says. 148 grain double base wad cutters, 2.6 grains of number 2 powder, which were a extremely light load. They're only like maybe 550 or 600 feet per second. Some 158 grain lead round nose, 4.8 grains of silhouette powder, and then 158 grain lead round nose with 5.1 grains of silhouette, which is pretty close to the max loading on those. I think 5.2 grains of silhouette is what they recommend for the max load. And then 158 grain Berry's plated hollow point with 5.1 grains of silhouette. And again, that's pretty close to the max on those. Berry's says that you can run these up to 1,200 feet per second. I think that would be in a 357 Magnum. I am loading 38 Special, so I want to keep the speed on these about 1,000 max. So I think that's about where I am with those. But the loads have come out pretty good. These are non-expanding hollow points. They're just a lead core with a solid copper plating on them, but they're very nice rounds and they're very budget friendly, great for target shooting. Not the best for self-defense necessarily because they don't expand, but the double base wad cutters, those are great to shoot. And what I've been using for other components, the first batch of primers I got were these small pistol match primers, Federal Gold Medal. It was literally the only primers that I could find online or in a store when I bought them. And I had them shipped to my house. They charge you an extra fee, so this was $130 to get that box of 1,000 primers, which is pretty high. I did find some just this week, $88 for 1,000, with again the $30 shipping fee or hazmat fee. So still pretty expensive, but all is said and done, a round like this costs about 25 cents to reload, between the cost of the primer, the cost of the bullet, and the cost of the powder. Again, that's not taking into account the cost of the dies and everything else I had to buy to do this. But if this cost me about 25 to 26 cents to reload, and a new factory loaded ammunition costs about 50 cents to load, the equipment pays for itself pretty quick. You're basically getting all of your rounds for about half price. That's what I calculated these at. So Federal Gold Match pistol primers. I've been using this old Lee Auto Prime to prime them, which works fantastic. The only thing that's a little bit challenging, the primer pockets in the Aguilas and the PPUs, and I do have a lot of Aguila shells in here, but the primer pockets in the Aguila shells tend to be a little bit tight, so when you put them in, sometimes you really have to squeeze to get them in, but this thing does the job pretty well. So what I've basically been doing is taking all of my shells, tumbling them to get them really clean. I've been using walnut shells, and I got some really old casings in here that have actually been coming out pretty good. This is an old Remington UMC 38 Special case, whoops, and it has those extra crimps on it. I think this probably would have been a lead wad cutter or something like that. And you can see a little bit of tarnishing on the case, But these, I don't even know how old they are. You can't feel anything on that tarnish. It's nice and smooth and slippery. So if it had pitting or something on it, I would toss this shell out. But I've been inspecting all my shells before I put them in the tumbler. Then I'll tumble them for, I don't know, 3, 4 hours, 5 hours sometimes. Take them out, run them through a sifter to get all the sand and, all the shell out of them and all the dirt and grit. Put them in a bucket like this, and then I'll sit down and I'll probably do 200 or 300 primers at once, set them all aside, and then I'll do either 50 or 100 rounds at a time depending on what I'm reloading. So I've been having some fun with this. I finally did get out and shoot some of these, and I'm very happy with the results. Hopefully I will have range footage soon for this. I went this Sunday, and actually my family wanted to come with me to the range. It was very close to dusk, so I only had about 20 minutes to actually shoot, so I did not take any video, although I believe my wife did get a couple of pictures of me shooting with some nice flames coming out of the barrel of the gun. So when it's dusk and it's really damp outside, the flames coming out of the guns are impressive. So just wanted to do a little update and tell you guys what I've been up to. I haven't been doing a lot of shooting. It's getting to that point of the year where it's hunting season here, so my range is closed Monday through Saturday. It's only open on Sundays, and it tends to be pretty busy Sundays because everybody wants to go. It's the only time to go. You got all the hunters out there sighting in their rifles and shotguns for hunting season, and then you have a whole bunch of people that are out there just trying to enjoy themselves shooting. So thanks for watching this edition of Cranky Gun Reviews. I really thank you all that come along and join me in these videos. I know sometimes they can be boring and tedious just watching me talk, but there's enough of you out there that still come and watch my videos, and I really appreciate every one of you. It does make me a little bit of money that I usually put right back into my channel. I have some stuff that I'm always trying to work on for new guns, different types of ammo, reloading and stuff like that. This year is really about trying to, I've said it a few times, reduce what I don't use in my collection. So I've sold off a couple of guns, traded them for better ones, trying to become more self-sufficient, so being able to reload all of my shotguns and being able to reload 38 Special. I'm probably going to buy the dies for 45 Long Colt, maybe 357 Magnum, but definitely 45 Long Colt, maybe 30-30, and maybe 450 Bushmaster, because they're all straight wall cartridges, pretty easy to reload. So for me, the joy of reloading is continuing on, and I'm trying to take the more expensive cartridges I have and reload those so I can continue shooting.